Amber Rudd joins us, former Home Secretary between 2016 and 18, co-host of the global podcast The Crisis Room, available, of course, through the LBC app. Good to see you, Amber. Thank you for coming on the programme. Let us start with these protests that are due to take place. We saw them last night. Are they, to your mind, un-British?
Yeah, they are un-British, Tom. At this point, what you would hope is that people would recognise what's taken place, which is a terrorist attack on their neighbours, in their community, and they should try to, everyone, whatever their feelings about international affairs, should try to rally together to support this country, their neighbours, against that sort of attack. And if I may, the significant thing really about tomorrow's proposed march is that it's in favour of supporting Palestine Action. Palestine Action is a proscribed group. So it's kind of layers these difficulties on the police, who've got to police this incident, which is a prescribed group trying to protest. So all the police who could be out supporting people in synagogues, at events where they think there may be dangers following up on this, are going to have to be in this march. It feels wrong, feels indulgent, feels like now is a time to perhaps just put our swords and our voices down for a while to try and reflect and support our neighbours.
To what extent have these marches, to some extent, always been un-British?
No, I don't think that. I think that generally the ability and the freedom of speech and the rights that we have to march are something that I'm very proud of in this country. And generally the police can support us in doing those and allowing that essential liberty, whether you like it or not, the people marching or not, to take place. But now is a completely different circumstance. This terrible murderous attack has taken place. The community is still coming together about it. Imagine if your neighbour had just had a terrible event like this. Would you go out and protest or party? No, you wouldn't. You try and support that person next to you by showing respect.
I'll put the argument to you, Amber, but I think I'm in agreement with you, but let's test the argument anyway. The argument is there is a, quotes, genocide, end quotes, happening in the Middle East. That is of huge significance. I want to go and protest against it to try and put pressure on the Israeli government to stop doing it, or the British government to get the Israeli government to stop doing it. Don't take that right away from me.
And I hear that argument. And normally, if this event hadn't just taken place, I would say I am proud that this country allows you to do that. But under these specific circumstances, to the person making that argument, I would say now is not the time to do that. You will be able to do that again in the future. We are not taking it away permanently, but just reflect for a minute on the human suffering of your neighbour and think again about this.
Can I ask you about what we know so far of the perpetrator, the attacker, a man called Jihad? It's being reported this afternoon that his father has written messages saying that the Hamas attacks on October the 7th were a miracle, that they were done by men of God. I wonder what you make so far of the picture that is being built of this attacker, and what, if anything, the police could and should have done, or the security services could and should have done.
Well, those comments are, of course, disgusting, disgraceful, certainly un-British and dangerous. So putting that out front...
Illegal, I would suggest.
Yes, I would agree with that too. Hamas is a proscribed group as well. So, but I understand he's also said a lot of sympathetic things for the people who've been killed. And so I think there's, Tom, there's a bit more to come out. So I'm not going to sort of jump down, who's saying what about this person. Let's not forget that this is the murderous activity of one person. It's right to find out how he's become radicalised and why he did it. But I would hesitate to rush to blame other people until all the facts are out.
How much of a concern do you think, in particular, the Islamist threat in Britain is, particularly when we have the context of a war in the Middle East going on?
Well, we have, my experience when I was Home Secretary is that, we had a series of attacks, some of which got through. There were, 5 in 2017 under my watch, but 5 sounded like a lot, and it felt sometimes like the UK was under attack. But there were a lot more that were stopped by our security services. So I can say to you honestly that I think that our security services and our counter-terrorism forces do a fantastic job in keeping us safe. But the world is a complex and sometimes angry place, and it is particularly angry at the moment. And so the fact that we have these occasional terrorist attacks is something that, in a way, we have to live with, and we have to support our police and our security services as much as possible to stop those people getting through. But I think and understand, in my experience, they do a phenomenal job and the best that they can.